Welcome to the Laws of Style, featuring conversations on creativity, fashion, and the law from the leading edge of our economy and culture. Hosted by noted fashion lawyer Douglas Hand.
Hello, and welcome to the Laws of Style. I'm your host, Douglas Hand, and for this episode, I'm joined by Brian Murphy. He is the co founder and CEO of the women's footwear brand Loeffler Randall. Brian, thank you for joining us.
Great to see you again, Doug.
Well,
Always good to see you.
I know, man. It is, God, you guys have been around for over 20 years now, right? I mean, that
Correct.
time has
Yes,
absolutely flown. I remember the kids when they were
Mm,
babies, and
I
now they're
know.
not babies. But let's talk about Loeffler. What do you think sets the brand apart, other than that
Mm.
20-year plus history of surviving the pandemic and still being on women's feet?
It's a great question. I think a lot of things set us apart. I think we've always been committed to uh, products that last, products that people can enjoy for years, high quality. And I think there's always been a price to value ratio that, I think we think is kind of unmatched in this price point that we're in, where we still are making products the most sort of diligent and thoughtful way possible, and that we're still trying to provide some value at the end to customers. Um, and I think we've been good about staying top of mind when we can, in a fairly constricted way. And Jessie herself's a force, a real dynamic, one of a kind.
Yes, your wife and co-founder.
Wife and co-founder. Yeah.
But I want to. It strikes me when you say value. Um,
Hmm.
we don't often hear that in capital F fashion, right?
Sure.
When you hear the word value, you think of discount, you think of bargains, and you're a luxury product.
Mm,
Um, and of course there's a value customer there.
mm.
Why have so many luxury houses kind of missed that point?
Well, they were afforded the luxury for a long time, no pun intended, of not really having to worry about kind of what does this cost, and who can afford it. I think, uh, and you saw their kind of prices creep really high. Um, and EU manufactured, EU materials, like that's a natural contributor to that. For us, I think value isn't really like, it's not like about pigeonholing my cost at say 295 to 495. It's really about like, we believe that this product is probably more valuable than what we're charging for it, meaning like the time and energy into it, the design expertise that's behind it. Kind of, Jesse's team is so vigilant of that, every kind of piece is perfectly delivered. And we're still trying to make it somewhat affordable. I think, even with that, there's it's expensive. Like you said, it's a $495 is not for everyone. 1495 certainly isn't. So, I think it's a super interesting discussion about kind of like price dynamics and
Yeah.
where there's resistance, where there's not.
Yeah, I mean, there's that sort of reverse demand curve at the high end of the luxury segment, right? Where it's like the higher it's priced, the
Hmm.
more it's desired. Um, but it's refreshing to hear the word value. It's an important word. I'm reminded of the FTC's clipping of the
Mm.
Capri Tapestry merger on the basis of
Yeah.
the crowded market for affordable luxury handbags. And before they started really ruminating on it,
Hmm.
I was like, "What is that? Is that
No,
a segment?"
I mean, you would know that obviously way more better than I, just because of the legal aspects around it. But it was an interesting kind of framing of that. I guess that's sort of more the large format, off-price off-price retailers.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of, I mean, I think that was a kind of a super strange decision ultimately, but like, um, there was some logic behind it ultimately. I think that, 85% of all handbags sold at Tanger probably would have been from that company at some point. So yeah, uh, you
Yeah.
know,
Well, it was three. It was the three companies. It was Tapestry,
mhm.
sorry, Coach, Coors, and Kate Spade. Those were the three they were
Yep.
really looking at among the portfolio of brands that would have been involved in that big
Yeah.
lottery. Um, but well, let me
Yeah.
for our listeners that don't know the product line, maybe just
Yeah.
walk us through the
Sure.
Loeffler product line and some of your hero items and where you're expanding.
There we go. So the business has always been rooted in footwear. It originally was an Italian made, Italian designed product that um, was rooted also in sort of luxury wholesale distribution. Over time, we expanded into kind of the adjacent category of bags and jewelry, small accessories, SLGs, those pieces. Never a huge part of the business, quite frankly. Like had always kind of, the footwear platform has always been the core and strength of the business, still is. Recently, with these stores, we love this idea of this kind of well-rounded lifestyle 360-degree offering. The
Yeah.
apparel business came out of that. I think it was originally, supposed to be 8 styles and 12 styles. And, now it's fairly big. I feel like it's almost like a full run apparel business that's still only direct in stores and online. And, I don't like right now, I'm kind of like, what does that business, what's its potential?
Hmm.
Uh, there's days where it's half the sales at retail.
Wow.
It probably shows
Apparel.
better
The apparel.
the apparel business. And especially, so we have 2 stores here and 2 stores in the Southeast, Charleston and Nashville. Especially it over indexes in Charleston and Nashville. Those are bigger stores. Those are easier places to try stuff on. I think both of them have 2 changing rooms. Trying stuff on Bleecker Street in
Right.
a 750 square foot box isn't
Well,
idea,
I
isn't optimal.
remember you and I
Yeah.
talking about, your first store and how the opportunity as a footwear focused brand was
Mm,
small store square footage, the ability to show so much in such a small square footage
yeah.
because your product was small, just physically
We
small.
we love we love the small but mighty. That's like I can't remember that word came up, but we do. The idea of like an over 2,000 square foot store is frankly terrifying to me. Uh,
Where's
to
the
build
water slide? Where's
Yeah.
the sauna? Yeah,
Where is the cafe bar or whatever,
right.
the reading room? I mean, I love retail. I've always loved it. I've loved doing it. I do think it's hard, and I do think you have to really keep those footprints down. Um, but yeah, so sorry, background. Um, so now it's multi-category. Some are only sold directly. Some we still have a large kind of third-party wholesale distribution, and we will, I think still rooted in footwear. I think there's room for us to grow up and down in footwear as well. I think we had a moment out of COVID where we had a bridal collection that was
Interesting.
very highly demand. That kind of spiked our growth out of COVID. That was a little bit by accident. It wasn't by design. It was like we had an accidental bridal platform hit runaway mega business like right out of COVID, right? But so, think back, there was all these weddings, there was pent up
Right.
demand.
Yeah, there was
So
pent-up
there
demand
is
in the
like an
apparel.
event occasion legacy product line. Um, it's not as robust as it had been in 22 and 23. Um, but we've been able to evolve and still do very compelling footwear product to kind of, our comps have stayed evenish over time, even as that kind of came back to earth.
Yeah. Well, how deliberate is not having wholesale accounts for the apparel? Just having D2C through your own brick and mortar and online.
This is a hot topic. I,
I focus on the hot topics. It's all
I,
on the laws of
hot topic. It's deliberate. We, it's deliberate. Um, how deliberate?
I mean, it's probably so devoid of the normal headaches that every other brand that we represent, apparel brand, has to deal with when trying to
mm,
get Saks to pay or,
the
don't even get me
payment
started with.
issues aside, because we have those issues in handbags and footwear as well. I think it's more about this. It's probably the truest creative articulation of Jesse and Jesse's designs team's kind of fashion vision, right? Meaning that like there aren't a ton of historical comps on it. There aren't pre-existing categories that we're known for. There aren't um, hero styles or silhouettes that need to be repeated. And I think part of the deliberate nature of not wholesaling it yet is I don't think they want the restriction of
Yeah.
the merchandising platform that comes with it. That being said, I think we've offered it to sale at wholesale in the EU. Like we'd love to pick up a Bon Marché, we'd love to pick up Liberty, we'd love to pick up Galeries Lafayette. I think that it's an easy product to wholesale in the EU, and there's probably select retailers here in the US that would be a good fit too. It's just a business we don't know as well,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah.
And those floors seem a bit crowded. And like you had said, we have all these other issues with third party wholesaling in general, right? Like,
Yeah.
there are some really healthy spaces and great places, but it is seemed to be like as a way to shop has declined,
Yeah.
or
Well, it's so interesting that retail has really kind of informed the product offering. And it makes perfect sense, right? You got these
yes.
bigger store footprints.
Mhm.
It's like, why not?
Well, I think Jesse always said too. Jesse was always like, hey, when people come into the store, they've never heard of the brand.
Right.
It's a lot easier to like, oh, I like that top, and then they walk out with a pair of shoes. I think that was always kind of the thinking behind it, that like it's there to kind of access to merch out,
Yeah.
but we're kind of expecting that they're going to purchase in footwear. But the in some aspects, there is certain product that they know where to get it. And like there's this dress called the Willie dress. This dress we cannot keep in stock. Um, God bless. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, obviously, the past 2 decades have been
mm,
rough for retail, right? Some of the
mm.
worst times that we've really seen. How did you guys manage it? I mean, there was COVID, there was the Barney's bankruptcy. I mean, how did you guys
I
manage it?
mean, I mean, barely, I think is the one word answer to that. Um, I, we've always been, yeah, look, Jesse is a considerate, frugal, uh, uh, determined, um, focused force, right? And we haven't strayed too far from we've always been a bank finance business. We haven't put a ton of leverage in the business. It's, we've had these, I think maybe grounded in the fact that we had three kids. Most of the time we've had this, right? The two oldest kids are 18. You know, if it's going to pay for their school and their books and their clothes and their things, that like it has to be kind of sound
Mhm.
financially, meaning, like it has to be a real business. But I mean, I think of all those things, clearly to me, COVID was the like real brush with kind of extinction there. That was, just because we
Your
were,
category.
yeah,
I mean, nobody was looking at people's feet for 2.5 years.
yeah, brutal. And so not only that, we were definitely indexed in like event, formal, dress,
Right.
and that's taken a long time to come back. It's definitely coming back. I actually feel like, I don't know what your thought is, but I'm starting to see women more dressed. Like I'm starting to sense like a early decline of kind of like the athleisure chokehold on like women's style in general, because that felt like it was just like the style.
They were following the dudes, right? And all of a sudden they were going to be in hoodies
I
and
would I would never say that, but they I mean it was just it was like it was still kind of that work from home COVID world. But it's weird. I'm seeing women dressed quite formally, like heels. Like I saw you know to work, and I was like, this is great. Like come on now, like I was into it. I was like, this is so, and that's just positive green lights for our business ultimately, right? But it's interesting. I think the office, we touched on the office, that I think brands like ours or accessories brands or women's fashion brands, they do thrive a little bit when women are like, hey, I've got to go out to I'm going to the office, I'm going home, I'm going out to drinks, I'm going to a dinner, I'm going to a thing after the dinner, like, which has been great for our brand because it is kind of multifunctional. It's not super limited. Like, oh, you can only wear it to a black tie. Like,
right.
Um, but to be honest, we don't have many things that you can wear to a black tie. We don't have any, I mean, don't, Jesse, don't kill me. We don't have much that you could wear on a red carpet, but on a green room, this is what I call them, green room, like
Right.
if you're going on Jimmy Fallon, we have a ton of stuff. And
Right.
that's, I think, a good mix of how women shop now. But, you know,
Well, and quality being, if not paramount, a huge consideration. Uh,
quality paramount. Yeah.
and
Quality, durability,
right,
paramount.
right,
Some
and a
sustainability.
degree of comfort.
There's this big degree of comfort. There is, I think there's a note somewhere in here about sustainability. I think the main approach that we've had towards sustainability is, yes, producing items of quality, producing items where we know where all of it's sourced, where every most of the manufacturers and most of the materials are coming from similar businesses, family businesses, Italian tanneries, French, which adds cost, right? Like I don't, I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know the number, but I want to say 70% of plus of every material in all Loeffler product is coming from the EU-ish, or say Turkey, or EU or EU adjacent. So
Interesting. Well, so let
that's
me
been helpful. It's
let's
challenging, but yeah.
yeah, no, let's hone in on that.
Mhm.
Um, what would it take for those resources to be available here in the U.S.? I'm reminded
Hot
of,
topic. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
Impossible. I
yeah,
mean,
but
it's a ridiculous premise for off the drop. There is, I mean, look, there's fantastic leather available in the United States. It's a different grade. It's thick. It's for like it's not it's for different types of garments. So it's way sturdier. It's not finessed, and you can get it in like three colors. I, I,
yeah,
and they could probably evolve if they wanted to serve this market. They don't want to serve the high-end women's footwear market and cutting, uh, and I'm not sure
well,
they
and
should.
and
Like
and 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 maybe more to that point. I mean, so they don't
mm,
want to serve it, and it's a dying. The few tanneries or
tanneries,
facilities that I mean, do you think they'll be around in a decade or two?
U.S. I'm
Right.
more worried about the Italian tanneries. Yeah, I mean, look, there is a bunch of brands that I respect and admire. One's based in Nashville, Imogene and Willie. And there we also have a retail friend brand that I call that is a menswear brand called Clayton and Crew. They make like high-end men's leather. I believe that's likely US domestic. Um, and Imogene Willie makes everything in the US. So yes, I think their products, there's incredible value in their product. And so will, is that big enough? Yeah, I mean, but look, there's probably all sorts of like, wallet or tech accessories that can be leatherized. I mean,
Yeah. No,
probably.
it's about the, in my mind, it's about the general regret of someone
Mm,
who may want to be a
uh,
cobbler or
sure.
a growing up in the United States and
Mm,
recognizing I will have to leave my country to do what what I love. But putting a pin
mm,
in that, what's interesting, and I know your brand has
mm,
a lot of fondness for the South as well as stores in the South. It's interesting that
mm,
this movement, to the degree it is a movement in the US of wanting to
mm.
have made in the USA an actual thing, does seem somewhat centered in the South. I mean, I think of Alabama
Yep,
Shannon as well. I think of Billy
yep,
Reed. I think of,
yep.
and these are brands that aren't in LA and aren't in New York. They're in the South. What's your reaction to that? It's kind of an
Well,
interesting because you guys
no,
have a nice footprint in the South.
we do. And uh, there was historically a lot of obviously fabric produced in the South,
Right.
right? So there's a lot of mills and uh, I also that's a really interesting question. I'm not saying it's impossible, right? I don't think doing high volume footwear production in the US is optimal. But then, there's a bunch of boot factories right over the border in Mexico, and that product's quite good. So it's not an easy answer. The Yeah, maybe you're kind of putting us made in America, more rooted in, well, there's a heritage story as well. Billy Reed in particular, I think like, that there's, and maybe, I don't know.
Raleigh denim.
Yeah,
No,
there's
there's
it's a good story. Those are good. They're great stories. Um, and maybe it's slightly more accessible there. I don't know. Maybe there's more older like machine and tool. Like most of those, well, I mean, also interesting, like Providence, Rhode Island, for instance, is like the home of fine jewelry in America because all those small family shops have stuck around and like the engravers and the watch, which I did not know at all until recently, that like Providence still has some. I mean, you need some. This is the great part about China, right? It's an incredibly intermeshed ecosystem. Like if we go to Dongguan, right, which is where a lot of our stuff was made or is made, like if you need a metal clasp, if you need a, they're all right there. It's like and so it's like you have all the footwear makers, you have all the handbag makers, you have all the digital, every town or every little micro area there is kind of vertical, like from literally the box to the shipping label and everything in between can come out of a day's trip. And so I think clearly America isn't as structured that way or anymore.
Yeah, yeah. No, it will be interesting, and I hope it's something that
But
market
like,
forces
you
help
know, you're
correct.
you're from Southern California, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Like one of the greatest footwear brands of all time was like came out of like a surf shop, like,
Bands.
right there, like
Good
seems
call.
to be like that was locally made for a while. I don't know any history of this company at all, but
It's owned
like,
by private equity now. But that's
God
a
bless.
relatively
Yeah.
recent development. I mean, maybe 15 years or
But I
so.
mean, how long those guys were probably, making that product nearby for quite some time. And, Still all
Santa,
the
Santa
core.
Ana, California. No, I mean, and
Yeah,
everybody wore Vans, and then
incredible business.
obviously authentic and a skater shoe, and they made it
Yeah.
for skaters.
The rubber parts were coming always from California. The
Mhm.
bottoms. Wow. Because that's vulcanized rubber is a very difficult business to do domestically at this point. I believe. Maybe I'm wrong, but like,
Well, let's pivot to retail because I want to
yeah,
talk more about your stores and
sure.
how they have interestingly, both informed the brand, but become
Mhm,
these outlets for Jesse's expression and the design team's expression. These sort of
mhm.
beacons of what the brand is.
Yeah.
So tell me about your approach to brick and mortar retail and what's the future? You're gonna how
This is
many
a great
stores do you
question.
want to
I
have?
love this. This is so yeah, this is a interesting and exciting part of the business. I think it's funny because I was just looking at this the other day. Like we have four stores. We made them at different times. One, we I took a lease like the month before COVID started. Like I
Great
think I
timing.
signed
Great
a
timing, man.
so that store sat empty. And then, so that's on Prince and Bowery basically. And when I look back on that, I was like, okay, I could see the progression here. One, two, three, four. It was like we did Prince and we did Charleston. And we did Bleecker Street this spring and summer. And then we also kind of had Nashville on the back of that, and that we launched in, say, October. But it's definitely evolved through that. Two of them are big, two of them are really small. But it, the partners we have in it have been phenomenal, right? Like the kind of like design interior, space planners, contractor. Like it's been fun. It's a fun project. And it definitely has unlocked something in Jesse and Jesse's design team where like not only in kind of product offering, right? Like, oh, like what will look good in and first of all, you're way closer to the customer too. These are things like had I known how good it is, how fun it is, we would have done this 20 years ago. Like we never really had the money to do it, quite frankly. And like
It's
Jesse
much
was,
more capital intensive, right? I mean, you got to take out a retail lease, which if you
yeah,
like your brand starting in New York City, I mean, it's one of the most expensive retail markets on the planet.
yeah,
And you've got to unlike making stuff, you got to
mm,
kit out a store. And you
yeah.
know
It's
what
I
those
think
build
kidding
out
it
look
out.
like.
I think the biggest, oh yeah, kidding it out. So Jesse and I probably have divergent points of view on this, but she's the kidding out and the visual merchandising display. That's like her world. My world is really about these teams that we have in these places. What I think is really fascinating about retail is each one of them are a micro business, not micro, but like it's 4 to 6 to 8 people. They're but they're some of your most visible brand
Right.
representatives, maybe the most visible, right? Especially on Bleecker Street. Uh, it's a fascinating time, I think, in well, let's just say women because we have hired mostly women in retail. Like, it's their first job, it's their second job, they're coming back to it after a different job. Like it is a career path that has some kind of implied transitivity, but also uh it's young, right? It's younger than a lot, like the average age in the corporate office might be, I don't know, 30. The average age of the store, I don't know the numbers here, but it could be like 22. And so I find like that's been really fun. And I, what I'm trying to say to Jesse is like, once the number of retail employees is larger than the office employees, that's like where our business has hit kind of like a sweet spot. And it's close. Right now, we're pretty close. Like I think we've got like, I don't know. But right now it's close. I think we're at like 85 people total. And like it might be like it's close to 40-40.
Wow.
Maybe
Wow.
not, but maybe it's like 30-50. But like
Well,
if we
among the
open two
fashion
more,
lawyer
yeah.
set, we
Hmm.
like to refer to stores. We don't like to, but
Yeah.
we do from experience as their own little islands of liability. And that
Well, there
doesn't
is
mean
that.
they're
Yeah,
not,
they are. They
yeah,
are.
it's
Yeah.
not they're a net liability.
Yeah.
Obviously, stores, if they're good stores, they're making you money. But from a legal liability standpoint,
You
oof,
mean like slip and fall or theft
all of
or
it, slip and fall. So there's the customer liabilities, but
yeah,
mainly it's
sure.
employee and labor issues
Hmm.
because each store, as you well know, is managed
Sure.
by a single manager, and that person often got there by being a good
Yep.
salesperson, not necessarily by being a good HR manager. And
Interesting.
then
We
you
we
get
we've been very blessed. We're incredibly blessed at retail with the people in that channel for us. It's a channel I spend a big chunk of my time in, and it's mostly about hiring and just support of kind of what these women need and when. It's fun. It is fun. Like I think one thing that we've kind of grabbed in retail is that there is like a joy in it for us. There's a joy in those stores, and we get so much feedback on these stores from people that are like, it was an amazing experience. Like it's I think we're trying to do something older. Like we're trying to do something like that has been a little bit lost. Like I don't like there are a lot of brands that do retail now, right? A ton. Like all these DTC, whatever.
right, right.
Um, Most of them do it extremely poorly. Like you're like, okay, this is like it's not your website
It's a
in a
cookie
physical
cutter. They're
space,
trying to they're trying to cut and paste.
but it feels like their website, which is fine. Like that's their like it, but like you go and you're like the person the store associate doesn't really care, you
Mhm.
know, that it's just like a whole weird, but I think I'm not sure, like in terms of retail, like I'm starting to see also stuff that I'm like, oh, there's a lot of good stores now, like small, like there's a store, this men's store, Ven Space. It's in Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens, maybe. Like super curated, fun, like makes you want to spend money. I think there has to be some sort of like Imogene Willie, tremendous retailer. Billy Reed's a pretty good retailer.
Yeah.
Like there are this group of I don't know. I'm starting to see things that you want to go in, you want to participate. Some of these kind of like high streets you see here are starting to, look really attractive. Like Seventh Avenue in Brooklyn, which is near me. Like I was driving down with my son the other day. I was like, look at all these new stores. I'm like, what's going on here? So
Yeah,
I think a lot of it's coming from food and bev. Food and bev is,
for sure. And there's an
incredibly
interplay
dynamic.
there when
Yeah.
you're talking street to street that is necessary. And
Yeah.
and look, you and I know as men of a certain age, I mean, it's like the Disneyland. What are you going to do on any given Saturday or Sunday
Sure.
when the kids don't have a game? It's like, oh, hey, let's
Yeah.
go, hit a few avenues and you're shopping, right? You're
Yeah.
shopping and maybe you're going to eat, but you want to participate in that process
Well,
by picking
w-
something up.
one thing with our retail program as well is that we've had a great blend of visitors and locals, right? So there aren't too many streets like this around, I'm finding, but like the women who live in the neighborhood know where it is, or, we're clearly being selective about where it is. But then there are towns like places we'd like to open, say like Austin, Nashville, we already opened, and there's one street where people, it's like a must do, must see. And like,
Right.
so King Street, where we're in Charleston, is very robust. 12 South in Nashville is very robust. Um, there's one in Austin, but there is not a ton it's not like coming to, no offense, it's not like coming to like London where there's like 52,
Right,
like
right, right.
shopping is the thing there, so.
Well, and the landlords who happen to own on
Mm,
those particular streets are like,
I know.
you know, um,
Yeah.
but you kind of
Unfortunate. Yeah.
have to do it, right? I mean, you're not gonna be the brand who's planting a flag 3 blocks, you know.
Well, I mean, I always love an off-block site. Um,
Okay, good. I
I
love
do
it.
like an
That's
off-block site. I don't think we are a destination on there on its own. Like, deep Prospect Heights probably wouldn't work for us, although we have a great Brooklyn business. I eh, like in terms of where we'd like to be, right? We'd love to be uptown, right?
Harlem.
It's
Harlem, baby.
way up.
There's your
Um,
plant a flag up
yeah,
here.
I think it's just too expensive. It's always been too expensive. Always like there is a threshold. Like for me, really, if someone's like, hey, it's $75 a square foot, I'm like, great. Like this is that the economics really work there. 75 to $85 square foot,
Mhm.
125 maybe that can work if it gets really small. Over 125, like you better be doing 4 grand a square foot, or you're gonna. So those face rents in Madison, they're, it's let's just say $500 a square foot. It seems like we don't want to swim in that type of
But
water.
honestly, Brian, I feel like for most brands, they view that as just a marketing
Yeah.
expense. They view that as a
Yeah.
billboard that they're putting on
Yeah, which it
the brand.
is, which it is. It is. And works for in that way.
A
I just think for
billboard you
me,
can walk into and like
yeah.
meet somebody, but ultimately, the sales are not as relevant as
I
just
like to
we're there.
run. I think it's important for us if we do end up, with, hey, what is the next level? What's the next space of this brand, right? Like, how do we go from a, you know, 4 store, $50 million plus business? Oh, look, I like the BBH black sheep there.
Oh yeah, this
Beautiful.
is this is
Yeah.
a
Oh,
client.
that's
You remember
oh
Rowing
yeah.
Blazers did this. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Brilliant.
yeah, the Diana sweater,
Yeah,
iconic.
that's right. That's what it was. But I think I want to run these stores four wall profitable. I want them to be real businesses. Weirdly, they all do about this. They're all doing, they're all on pace to do just under 2 million each, which is awesome. Um, and they're profitable, right? And so I think that's a model that can be,
Well, but let me get your let
yeah.
me let me get your wish list going. Like, where's
Mhm.
next? Why not Chicago? Chicago boy.
Love
Come on.
Chicago.
Yeah, so why not?
Chicago's hard. Chicago lacks that street that we discussed. Chicago does not have a single street that both tourists and locals visit on the regular.
Hmm.
I think to the most attractive retail street in that city is probably West Armitage to me. And we have an awesome woman, a local woman, working on trying to find us a space, but it just hasn't clicked. I think we would do fine in Chicago. I think it's a great market for us and DTC. Uh, Wish list? Well, we have, we have a store in the UK identified. It's happening. Things move a little. It's
Oh,
it's
you
it's
you
a
heard it.
slower
You heard it
paced.
here first on the laws of
Heard
style.
it here
It is
first.
happening.
I think, look, I mean, the UK, we've always wanted to do a store in the UK. We've done it.
And
We've
where does
been,
that come from? Because I've worked with a number of brands. Like I remember Rag and
yeah,
Bone, and the guys were English, right?
yeah,
So
maybe, yeah,
they immediately wanted to,
yeah.
where's our first London store? And I
Well,
understood that, but what are you guys
I
just?
mean, no, I mean, it's an incredible market. It's for seasonal weather.
Right.
It's a urban professional woman, very similar to New York. There's tons of customer overlap. We've had a press office there for 10 years. So there is some brand
Yeah.
affinity that exists. Uh, I'm a avowed Anglophile, and our daughter lives there. So, and in fact, Jessie just applied just yesterday for her global talent visa, which will cover also our youngest son and myself. So not only can I just admire from afar, as I age, I
Right.
wonder if, I'm going to be living in my Mayfair dreams come
Right.
true.
Right. Well, it's a lovely. I mean, I'll anglophile
Yep.
it. My mom is
Yep.
English,
Oh,
and
wow.
so when I was born, she was English. So
Yeah.
I've always been eligible for that
Oh,
dual
lovely.
citizenship. But No, I get it.
Yeah.
Your woman is, I feel like I see her in England
Mhm.
too.
I
She's,
definitely see her in England.
yeah,
I definitely see her in England. Yeah, I mean, some of this thinking came out of the tariff, rupture, where it was like, hey, what about some markets that aren't tariffed? Like, can we just ship direct to?
right.
I mean, the UK, we had already had thought about that prior, but now so I was in Amsterdam in the last spring. Yeah, in the spring. And I was like, man, like this is amazing. Like there's all sorts of stores here.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are all like young European tourists. Like, and I was like, and people obviously Paris is kind of like the penultimate, but
Well, but you
I,
got some brand snobbery there that you don't have in Amsterdam or in England, which I think probably, militates in favor
yeah.
of.
Oh, I think there's definitely some brand favoritism in the UK. I think that'll be a harder market once we're
Interestingly, though,
there.
I would say more
Yeah.
amongst for footwear men. They have very strong views about their shoes, those Brits, when it comes to, yeah,
Good to know. Good to know. We're actually taking a footwear a space that was a footwear business prior and it had been there for 27 years and honestly I'm trying to say this in the best way. It like I sent my son was at school there this summer. My
okay.
oldest son, 18, super reliable. And I was like, hey, I need you to go take pictures with the broker. And he's like, okay. He's like, Dad, it's like Charles Dickens died in that basement. He's like, there's this little coal. He's like, I mean, he's like, it looks like it's like not even 1900s. It looks like it's like 1700s down there. I was like, well, it'll be fine. We'll spruce it up. Don't worry. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun there. The partners we have in place there, marketing, PR, and I just, it's a fun energy there. It's a little, here's more, cutthroat, let's just say, or P&L driven businesses here. I think I don't know. There's a softer quality to the kind of approach that I'm starting to admire, which is weird for me because I was always like the, cutthroatiest cutthroat that, you know,
Well, the fashion industry has mellowed you, or maybe the
yeah, yeah,
extension into retail has mellowed.
maybe, yeah,
Well, let's talk macro. Let's talk
into
macro.
hospitality. Yeah.
You have a relatively uncrowded cap table, not to disclose
Well,
anything.
we have a family office investor who came in, who came in, I want to say weirdly, I think actually just looking at the date, they came in November of COVID year. So I believe like this is like the 5th year anniversary. Like it could be even today. Like it was like right around this time 5 years ago. And they've been great. They've been nothing but
Well, yeah,
supportive.
that sounds like a fantastic
It has
addition to the
been, we've
cap
been
table,
super
unless
lucky.
their last name is Schwartzman or, you're not talking
Yeah.
about, private
No,
equity investment, as we often say, is like the only
sure.
marriage you enter into where there'll be a divorce, right?
Mm.
They have a window, they have a horizon where they will exit.
I,
But
I,
but
th- I
for
think,
the brand,
yeah,
what is the goal?
yeah, I know.
Is it legacy and being able to have
Mm,
a beautiful brand experience with customers and put your kids through
mm.
school and then either hand it down to them or let it, or is it $1 billion brand and you want to go public at some point?
You have to be $1 billion to go public now?
I
Jeez,
don't know.
that's
Yeah,
high.
that would be my general advice. Stay
Um,
private until you hit that
to
other
the
50.
B, that's a great question. So let's unpack that. We have a relatively uncrowded cap table, yes. However, the family office has been our partner for 5 years. Um, I think everyone's very encouraged about the kind of growth trajectory that we've seen the last, say, like 18 to 24 months, we've brought in the last 2.5 years here, we've kind of like re-scraped the whole business from literally like the digitization, like from the ERP side out, has 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 kind of transformed kind of how we operate more fluidly, easier. It's like everything here is now, it's like we've kind of slowly more from a design led organization now to like a merchant driven organization. And I think honestly, it's not even, that transformation is not even done. I said today, it's only a third done. And so I think as we evolve into a more merchant driven business in multiple categories with a higher percentage of this business being direct, I always said the ceiling for the brand was like 100 million in my eyes. Like I was like, I can't believe we're not like 100. But now I'm like, I think the ceiling's closer to like 250 probably. And I don't know, you'd have to give me like a set of comparables, but like there seems to be a bunch of businesses that do kind of plateau at that, like, 200 to 200, and their brands like Diptyque, they might be 2 billion, I don't know, but like I think there is something there could be something very positive about that. I hate to forecast larger than like two or three,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, but a $250 million international business, uh that probably is like what, you know 16 stores. That seems like a healthy number. Big e-com business, some really healthy and successful wholesale partnerships. I mean, everyone has funnels of customers that they own, right? There's like a woman who only shops on bloomingdales.com. She gets rewards, she gets, but like
Right.
that reliable, like we have customers in that funnel. We have customers in Nordstrom's funnel. We have customers in ShopUp. We have customers who only shop us physically. We have customers who shop Loeffler.com. Like I, I I think they're not gonna, converting those people to your site is a task. And so I don't even know how realistic that is. And to be honest, I love a lot of the wholesalers we had. Nordstrom, it's been an incredible partnership. It's been awesome. Like, why wouldn't you? I mean, it's a
Yeah.
beautiful store. I mean, so
Beautiful store,
yeah.
national reach, like boom. They do a lot of your work for you.
Yeah. And, a California presence that we do not have, and a retail market I do not know super well, quite frankly. Like the idea of opening a store in LA is terrifying to me. Like
Come walk with me. Come walk
where
with
would
me.
it be?
We'll get it done.
We're all like reflex, it's just, it's a humongous city. And
You guys are full on Silver Lake. That's
you
where
think
you are.
so?
Oh yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because that's what I thought too. Um, um,
That's where it is.
um,
Anyway, we digress. That'll
we
be
digress.
that's
But
going to
yeah,
be
I
off
mean, I
camera.
think our goal, look, I think we've always felt more comfortable with like strategic side partners, right? Like the family office is incredibly strategic. Um, like a company that makes, fabric even, or, like there's kind of adjacent industry strategics. Like, I've always felt kind of at home with like the European kind of model. I don't know. I think that's always been attractive to me. I actually wonder, like, yeah, I don't know. Like I think it's still a little bit to be determined. I like the trajectory we're on. If we're gonna have 16 stores, more stores, sorry, 12 more stores by the end of 2028, that's gonna, like you said, it's expensive. That's not, I don't know if I can generate that out of free cash.
Well, the
I've
amazing
done four out of
byline.
free cash now. So,
Yes.
but this goes slow. It's been 5 years, right? It's
Right.
less than one a year. So,
But the nice byline of not having
yeah,
venture capital or private equity capital, there's no tick 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 tick. There's no
yeah.
stopwatch on you.
Well,
Which
my stopwatch now is more about my age. I'm 54. I'm kind
yeah.
of like,
No, that's
You know,
fair and valid. You're
how
you're a
much,
youthful 54, my friend.
hey, I'm a youthful 54, but like, uh, I think I've started to appreciate
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
What?
funny.
How much
I was
longer am
having,
I going to be doing this?
well, it's beyond that. It's like, so I have a good friend, he's attorney like you, works a super stressful job. Uh, and he said to me, he said, you know, how many days can you crank up to 110, which is like 100% and 10% more, right? Like your peak work velocity, your peak work. He's like, it's getting harder and harder for me to get to 110 as regular as I used to be. And so I took that and I was like, man, like, because I used to be at like 110, like out of bed, like, you know, but recognized that as well. I was like, man, like how often do I even operate at 110 now? And like I feel like my whole 20s and 30s, I was like, I had no problem. Like not only was I 110 during the day, it was like 210 at night. So like and so I find that interesting that it is like the machine works, right? This, but like takes a little bit more coal or whatever, to like
Get out and crank the
get
car.
me up
Yeah.
to, and it's short, like, so I don't know. So I wonder about that. And to be quite frank, we're at a size where if we're going to become a merchandising driven organization, I'm not the best equipped. I'm not the best trained. We have an internal resource who's been fractional, a GM president, who we are, want to her scope to be kind of like,
Yeah,
Jesse's.
look, managing four
eh,
stores versus managing 16 or more
Yeah.
is a whole different
And
kettle of fish.
beyond that, even and a $50 million website, and I recognize my own kind of limitations in that, which are probably pretty close to hitting it right now,
Hmm.
fairly close.
Yeah.
It's not like I have an infinite window of.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point because I often focus on private equity kind of
Mm,
kicking the birds out of the nest a little too early because they have to
mhm,
because their horizon
sure.
is 5 years or 7 years and they're done and you haven't gotten from
Hmm.
20 million to 500 million or you have but
Hmm.
you're out of the nest, you just have to go. And your
Hmm.
reference to the European houses, which I can even, I mean, the great European houses, right?
Sure.
They'd never had that stopwatch on them. They were family run for generations,
Yeah. Yeah.
and they slowly evolved. I mean, some of them were frigging saddle companies, right?
It's amazing. I
Yeah,
mean, it really is
Gucci,
amazing.
Hermes. I mean, these
Yeah.
are, and now they're sitting atop so much goodwill. They could
Yeah.
put out a frigging,
Car. Yeah. Whatever. Yeah.
anything. And
Computer. Yeah.
yeah, and the margin they would get on it is amazing. But it
I mean,
takes time.
Gucci, I mean, they could produce uh pharmaceuticals and people would pay 3x for that. I mean, it's just a fact. Like if you
Well,
got a
we go
Gucci
back to the
branded,
70s, and you
you know,
remember you remember when Gucci got sort of licensed to the hilt, and they
yeah,
were doing like crazy, they were like Gucci lighters that were,
there were. Oh, I got
yeah,
to get one of those. Yeah.
yeah, no, those would be actually
I
amazing.
remember there was Gucci cars. There were like
Well, they did
Gucci.
interiors, I think. They did the interior of, I don't know if it was an Alfa Romeo or
Yeah.
something.
Plus, there's some bootleg Gucci cars that I see on Instagram occasionally, like an old Buick, and the guy's redone the interior, and it is
Very
it's
Dapper
pretty
Dan.
rad. Very Dapper Dan. I love it. I love that. I love Dapper Dan. Yeah.
Um, well, look, God, we're running out of time.
There we
I want
go.
to get at least one more solid answer out of you. I mean,
Mm,
let's go back to sustainability.
mhm. Yes.
Um, you know, we both know apparel accessories, the
Hmm.
fashion industry, very, very dirty business, literally, right?
Sure.
Um, so you mentioned quality being in some ways an answer to that and not overproduction. But how conscious are you as a brand to not contributing to that awful track record?
Big question, difficult question. I think I think super interesting development, or two interesting developments, right? So the EU started to look at all this legislation about like product origin, product history,
Right.
place of
If
manufacturer.
you made it ultimately your responsibility to dispose of it responsibly. Huge
And
burden
I
potentially.
love that. I love that idea that now everything's going to have its own, like every single product will have its own distinct, history tag, QR code.
Mhm.
So that exists, right? And so we've always been conscious and careful about who's making the stuff, where it's made, where it comes from, what those factories. SGS runs like a big product where you have scientists go visit your factories, and we've been fortunate. A lot of these, tapestry, like you mentioned them before, the tapestries, the Nikes, they're very audit compliant and very kind of sustainability forward. And so once factories have been vetted in those, such that we can feel comfortable inside of them. I think really kind of limiting production, I think is ultimately kind of our best answer to sustainability, meaning that we like to just be sold out, sold through, sold down. We're not really in the product lines where like you'd have to like a ton of, foam slip-ons that are sitting in a warehouse somewhere. That's really kind of like that's a really kind of tough business to be in anyway. And um, so I think, being really considered about the purchasing orders. We have more control of it now, seeing, that the direct business is the bigger part of our business now. The site and the stores are bigger than the wholesale business. So this is like, that's never been. So it's like, we have a lot more the planning, diligence, rigor. The biggest unlock to any fashion brand, this is a accurate planning. The
Yeah.
planning and merchandising discipline
Yeah.
is,
And having the direct relationship with the consumer through online and your own brick and mortar
but
removes that third party retailer that, might be clouding some of that data.
we've had planner in the business for a while, but we currently the DTC team. So with this woman who came on as a fractional GM president 2 years ago, we've slowly kind of reorganized the kind of how we go to market, how it's tied to marketing, where we're marketing, how we're marketing. This team has, I believe, known each other from prior roles or prior organizations. We have like a, 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 a senior leadership team that I think has completely revamped kind of the mathematics behind this business. And it's not sexy and it's not glamorous, but like it is working. And I'm incredibly grateful. And like, so our variance to plan right now today is -1, right? 1 point.
That's sexy to me, man. That
Oh,
sounds amazing.
I bring this number up all the time because I was like, man, it is November 20th, and we're still hitting daily plan like really close in all four stores. It's nuts to me. I'm like, this is like the math, and we've been lucky. These women all kind of came as like a not a package, but like they've they've built their own kind of team here. And so while you're asking like what's the future, like to me, it's very natural for me to like, hey, like I should probably be in retail and store development. I should probably, oh, sorry, it's really loud out there. I should probably try to, find some capital or whatever the kind of configuration becomes and let these girls cook, as they say, like because they can cook. And with Jesse now, we have
It's one of the
all the
hardest
ingredients
things
that,
as a
you know,
founder to recognize when to step aside and let somebody with a capability that they have honed
the,
take
the,
on that area.
the hardest part about when founders do this though, is like, um, if they give up, say like that, whatever merchandising planning to someone and it goes wrong or it's not right, or it turns out the person wasn't capable, that's where it gets really painful though.
Yeah.
Like that's when you're sitting on the warehouse full of, kimonos that no one wants or whatever,
I'll
that,
always take a kimono, but
yeah,
you're absolutely right. Like, the founder is keeping 18 fiery torches going, right?
yeah,
And as that just increases, you've got to sort of start to hand those off. But that's the difficult growth path. The fact that
mm.
you don't have the ticking clock of money
Wait,
that
so
wants an exit.
you've mentioned this a couple times. You find that inside of like the private equitized business that it's really like a boiler room, like a fashion boiler room.
I,
It's a
I
slow
don't I
business.
don't want to
Yeah,
characterize with adjectives that might
yeah,
be triggering to some, but look,
yeah.
it's there is a divorce. It's like getting married and your wife saying to you on
Mhm.
November 28th of
Yeah.
2032, we will get divorced. And that creates its own set of realities that
Mm.
aren't
Because
necessarily organic to the brand growing.
it's not also organic to our industry in general because it is so long.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's almost like, well, how many months is it, do you think, from origination to final disposal of most products? 27 months? I mean, a
Right.
long time,
Right. Right. And
and
yet so fraught with consumer reception and, it's fashion, which
yeah,
itself is an adjective that sort of presupposes something is in or out of
correct.
fashion. So you can be a
Yeah.
maker of fashion items, and what you're making are the unfashionable ones that don't sell. And that's an awful
It,
situation. But
yeah,
you
I
need
think that
time. You
my
need
reluctance to that type of money has always been a little bit of me feeling like there's a duration mismatch between their expectations and what any fashion, unless you're getting into like a white hot,
yeah.
you know, thing that just has its own. But how often is that? I mean, most times they're kind of
Venture
coming.
capital and even private equity have really been predicated upon the technological economy,
Sure.
and
Which is just, yeah,
therefore exactly their time horizons don't fit with a lot of other industries,
I agree.
certainly not fashion.
Certainly not. We said that's a definitive.
Yes,
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I think it's tricky.
there are some that get it. I won't name names, but
Yeah,
there are certain,
because I mean, it's funny that you bring this up because I'm like, I was like, any change we make now, like we don't, it's going to be 18 months finally to like, hey, like, I don't know. It is a long, I mean, I mean, we're about to start selling product that goes in retail stores in June, like in next month,
right,
like
right.
early next month. That stuff goes to the end of summer, right? So like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it sounds good. It's one of those things that sounds too good to be true. I think God bless the private equity guys because they're also getting whatever their fee and I hope that more brands have success using that type of platform. It always does seem there's the bad stories outweigh the good like 10 to 1, or maybe you just don't hear the good ones that often, but
Well, I mean, I don't
100 to 1.
think that the conglomerate, LVMH and carrying those
Mm,
brands and those brand, I don't think private equity had anything to do with those brands evolving into
interesting.
the juggernaut that they
Sure.
ultimately are. But in any
Interesting.
event, Brian, we have
Yeah.
come largely past the end of our hour. I
Past
apologize
the
for going
hour.
over,
Wow.
but really great to see
How
you.
many of these have you read behind you, by the way? Like you just think you after this, you're gonna do like a deep dive into that like
Well,
big thick
most of
blue
these
book?
are what are called bound volumes of transactions.
Oh,
So
that
not
you've
only did I read these, I probably drafted about 90% of the
dang.
words that are behind me.
Take a note, kids, right
Yeah,
here. Look at
exactly.
this guy.
The
Wow.
OG.
Wait, that's a single transaction? This is amazing.
Well,
Well, God willing, you find my, European fabric maker and we can, create one of these to
would
stick
love
in
to.
there.
Would love
Yeah.
to. And I'd love for it to encapsulate,
Yeah.
2 or even 3 bound volumes. But best
Addition
to
to.
Jesse and the kids.
Yes,
Really
sir.
great to see you.
We reminder.
Yes.
We're overdue.
And is
I've
the
moved on to
Wagoneer still running?
no, I
Okay.
have a Land
All right.
Rover now. But I've moved on to pickleball, I gotta say.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
always scared to play you in tennis too, because I secretly think you might be really good because of the California thing and
I
you
mean,
know,
I've got a court in my house in East Quad,
yeah,
so
there's that.
I play pretty
Yeah.
regularly. But
Yeah, I don't
you
know.
might get me in pickleball because
Maybe. Yeah.
I'm still in between the ping pong and the tennis. I don't really know how to approach it.
Yeah. All right. Well, great to see you again, buddy.
Likewise. All
All
right,
right.
and
Pleasure.
listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to The Laws of Style with Douglas Hand. For more information, go to our website at www.hballp.com. And you can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Hand of the Law. Thank you for tuning in, and stay stylish.